Hello, this is Dave Sugarbaker, and today is the 14th of July, 2024, and I have a sermon on old age. And here's the psalm that goes with it, Psalm 90. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn us back to dust and say, turn back, you mortals. For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it is past, or like a watch in the night. So teach us to count our days, that we may gain a wise heart. As I was doing my research for this week's sermon, was on the internet, and I came up with some quotes that I thought I'd share with you just to get us going. Here's something from Satchel Paige. Age is a case of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. And secondly, from Madeline L. Engel, the great thing about getting older is that you don't lose all the other ages that you have been. And from Albert Einstein, I have reached an age when if someone tells me to wear socks, I don't have to. From Keith Richards, getting old is a fascinating thing. The older you get, the older you want to get. From Kitty Collins, aging seems to be the only way to live a long life. And finally, from Henry David Thoreau, no one is as old as those who have outlived enthusiasm. I arrived in Berkeley in the late summer of 1966 from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I had gone to junior high and high school and college in South Dakota, and I had never seen a hippie. I arrived with my South Dakota haircut, a kind of Kingston Trio flat top. It couldn't have been more than 3/4 of an inch long at the most. I kind of stood out in Berkeley. My classmates, all of whom were notably more shaggy than I, rolled their eyes when contemplating my haircut. They all assumed that it wouldn't take long for me to blend in with the long-haired fashion of that day and that place. Well, for me, that's all it took. I'm kind of stubborn at times, and I kept my crew cut for the 3 years I was in graduate school in Berkeley. People who didn't know me would take a look at my hair or my lack of hair and conclude that I must be a Nazi. So that was an early stereotype that I had to deal with. Some years later, back in Berkeley, as minister of North Brae Community Church, and with longer hair, I participated in a support group at one point. I recalled the feedback from the group members that I was surprisingly normal for a minister. Another stereotype. In California, most ministers wore clerical robes for services. I think it was a throwback all the way to the time when Mexico and the Roman Catholic Church were occupying California, before California became a state of the United States. But in any case, ministers, even Protestant ministers, wore robes. And I recall being surprised that some people saw the robe and interacted with it, but they really didn't see me at all. It was unsettling to be trapped in a cultural stereotype. I understand now how uniformed police feel when people interact with the uniform rather than with the individual inside it. So that was a couple of stereotypes, but there was another one that has emerged. I didn't feel it at 60. I didn't feel it at 70, but now that I'm approaching 80, I find I'm trapped in another stereotype. What is it? I'm old. And since I'm old, I have trouble getting around, right? Well, that's true to a small degree, but I'm working on that. Another part of the stereotype, I'm old and I could fall off the twig at any second. Well, that's also true, although that one is true for everybody. And another part of the stereotype is I'm hopelessly out of touch now that I'm old, and I'm irrelevant to whatever's happening now. Not true at all. I feel that I track pretty well, actually, these days. But I've noticed that some people will see gray hair and look right through me. It's like being dead already, when in truth, I'm not dead yet. True, I can have some hilarious things that happen now that I'm getting older that would not probably have happened to me when I was younger. Like taking my new mini chainsaw and cutting off a limb directly over my head. At that moment, gravity was not my friend. That was pretty hilarious. Some medical people, write off old people. After all, we have one foot in the grave already. Why waste time and attention treating that old guy? Well, it's my intention to be around for the next 20 years, so pay attention, Doc. Another misplaced assumption is that old is old. That's not true. Age means different things to different people. One person may be struggling at 75 with decreasing capacity, while another at 85 is still running marathons. One elder is struggling with dementia, but another is sharp as a tack at the same age or older. What aging means to one person doesn't necessarily apply to anybody else. One thing I've heard long ago that I think still applies, as you age, whatever you have been, you become more so. These earlier traits will intensify over the years. And I notice that as I have gotten older, I am less tolerant of intolerance. So age is a variable. One person's dementia at 75 doesn't mean that it's a prescription for all 75-year-olds or 80-year-olds. A stereotype, is the definition of it is that it's a fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. Stereotypes allow us to categorize people, to lump them all together in convenient boxes. One size fits all, right? But it never really does. It never feels good to be stereotyped. None of us wants to be reduced to a simplistic common denominator that doesn't fit us. So I'm not comfortable with the confining and defining strictures of the stereotypical Berkeley grad student, or the stereotypical minister, or the stereotypical old guy. I will insist that I am a unique human being with a unique set of gifts and challenges. Stereotyping can be a habit. It's an easy knee-jerk reaction. And respecting individuality takes more effort and more brain power. It's my hope that we will put in the time and the thought to address individuals. It takes more effort than mindless stereotyping, that's true, but it demonstrates our respect. We can look at what someone does, how they interact with other people. We can deduce what they value to some small degree. We can hear what they have to say and determine if it's truth or fiction. I'd like to say that as we age, we learn, but that's not always the case. Sometimes as we age, we get tired or lazy, and stereotyping is easier than putting in the effort. the effort that is to respect and understand individuality. But stereotyping contains a certain degree of violence because putting people into a small pigeonhole never works easily. There are always those pieces that don't fit. We have to push them in. But love and respect are great gifts that we can choose to give to others, even older people, if that is who or how we intend to be in life. It takes more effort on our part, but it's worth it. I have a final quote to share with you in closing, and that is, it's not attributable, but it says, "Youth is a gift of nature, but age is a work of art." So God bless you. Take care of yourself. Thank you for your time in listening to this thing. And if you find it of value, I hope you'll pass it along. See you soon. Bye.